Thank you for joining us for a very special episode of Pals Pulls. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Tomorrow's a holiday. Tomorrow's July 4th. Happy 4th to all of you lovely people. We did not want to spend our 4th of July podcasting, and so we are here with you on the day of release of both DC, Marvel, and everything else with an episode of the show because we could not leave you hanging, and the gang's all here. We've got Cale,
What's up, hanging dogs?
Marco,
What's up, America?
Tyler,
Is a hanging dog like slightly to the left or to the right?
It depends on your orientation.
All right.
and I'm Sean. And you guys are with us. Thank you so much for being with us, whether you are here with us live or in the future. If you made it on Wednesday night, that means that you pay attention and you listen. So thank you for that. We've got
Count them.
six of this week's biggest books. We have Absolute Power #1. Very excited to talk about this bad boy.
Oh,
No comments on the cover here. Look at this.
yeah, well, it looks like they're covering their hanging dogs.
Oh. Yeah, I had to grab this. I really like the back too. It's like
Ooh,
themed.
I dig that. Yeah.
Whoa.
I love propaganda
then-
posters.
Yes, I love propaganda. And then when you open it, it's the cover A.
Oh, the actual.
This is what you've been
so is
talking
that-
about.
It's thicker.
Yes.
Is that a thicker cardboard on the outside?
It's a cardstock cover, yes.
So extra dollar?
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was worth it because this is an event. So
Okay.
I made the choice willingly. I'm cool with that. We've got Batman 150. We have, yes, indeed, Birds of Prey #11. Look what I went and did.
Oh,
I had
that's
to.
nice.
I had to.
Who
This
is
is the
that?
variant. Who did this art? I gotta find out who did the art. But it's got the birds in the mouth of a T-Rex. It's beautiful.
Serge Acuna.
Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome. Great work. Scarlet #2, double dose of Kelly Thompson this week.
You're
The
tuned into the Kelly Thompson Power Hour.
Yes. The listener pick of the week, Free Agents #1. Think you guys did good this week. And Spider-Man Reign #2, holding it down for Marvel
Oh.
this week.
Go on there with that alternate cover.
Yeah. I went
Ah.
variant crazy this week. It's because I'm jealous. We got people like Uncaged posting these fire variants, and I'm like, I got to get in on this. So when I saw the Birds of Prey cover, I said, okay, all right, I'm in. I'm jumping in.
Do you not know the 10 Commandments of the Comics Pals? Number 3, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's variants.
Mhm.
Leads to wallet trouble.
I wrote that one very specifically.
Yeah, etched.
Well, I got it. I had to get it. I couldn't wait. And let's not wait any longer to talk about Absolute Power #1. Mark Waid and Dan Mora, the creative geniuses behind World's Finest, team up for an event. DC tapped these two to tell the tale of their summer event, and they are joined in that endeavor by Alejandro Sanchez on covers and Ariana on colors, and Ariana Mayer on the letters. Now, DC's been building up to this event in some form or fashion for about the last 2 years, which is a pretty long time by today's standards. And this issue, although it was preceded by the ground zero that we got last week, is still very much table setting. You know, it feels a lot like an issue 1 of an event. It introduces all the central players, sort of as if you've never met them. It gives you enough if you're coming into this dry, then it tells you essentially enough to be able to orient yourself around what's happening. And it opens up with the preview pages that we've been getting in DC books for the last couple weeks, which is Superman stopping a robbery like he would on any other occasion. Feels like a very classic Supes moment, but it ends differently than all the other ones do because he gets shot by a nervous goon, but the bullet pierces Superman. and he falls, presumably to his death. And that's how the event starts. I love that kickoff,
Imagine being that goon.
right?
It
What do
looks
you?
at the gun like,
Yeah,
what?
like, what do you have to like tell your friends? And they're like, oh, bullshit, dude, bullshit.
Yeah, no, if you're smart, you keep that shit to yourself.
That's true. You did not do that. Yeah.
After that stinger, though, the book jumps backwards a day and change to show us how we got to that point, to show us the heroes failing and to show Amanda Waller putting all of her plans into motion. We get a big, reveal as far as a traitor in the midst, although it's more of a reveal to the heroes than it is to us. And everything is set up for Amanda Waller's big victory. What'd you guys make of Absolute Power #1?
I loved this. I had a lot of fun with this. This felt like a classic DC event for me. And what really got me was like the amount of B tier heroes that just showed up and it really just blew up the world. It's like, oh, this world is inhabited by more than just Batman. Like Elongated Man shows up. Do you know how hard I popped to see Elongated Man show up in a book? Doom Patrol hanging out with Aquaman. Who else is in this that really? Jade and the JSA were here. Man, I was hyped reading
Spectre
this.
is back?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And like the suit one, like he's in a suit too, and like, oh
yeah,
man,
yeah. I think it's Jim Corrigan.
I think so too.
Wild.
Yeah, yeah. Although Crispus Allen is one of my favorite names in comics, but yeah, it was just really cool to see like, oh, the DC universe is back. Like this is what it felt like to me, and this also kind of gave me the vibe of like that Cersei Lannister episode of Game of Thrones where like all her machinations were finally like she pulled the trigger on it, and that's when like the wildfire, spoiler alert for like season something, but like just seeing Amanda Waller having planned all of this for so long, and we have kind of had seeds of it for years at this point, to see all of it like just enacted in one shot, I was like, man, this is good stuff. This is real good stuff. And when we talk about the art, I have thoughts about the art, but I want other people to talk too.
I think to see the weight of the reveals from Amanda Waller, because I feel like I remember in those moments of build up, it was always like it always felt a little flat. It's like, what is she gonna do? What is she really gonna be able to do? And it feels like she delivers on this. And so out the gate there are stakes, not just the opening stinker, but even as things continue to just coalesce, the fact that this is all a series of AI disinformation campaign, I thought was really interesting to like sow doubt into the heroes amongst themselves of the populace, like the people that they're there to protect. So I thought that was an interesting way to start it out, and then have the people. 'Cause I feel like that's always the hardest part to convince the people, the very people that you save, to go against them. And once they are, it's easy enough to kind of scoop people up and clean up from there. So I thought the the narrative of it, the actual plan, I thought is really well done and engaging.
Yo, where you at with this?
I had to read this twice, and I'm still not totally sure. I'm still not totally sure that I like got everything,
Oh,
and I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I I feel like once it got into like I've been working a lot. I tried the first time to read it after work, I fell asleep. I tried to read it again today at work, and I had to rush through it to get through the rest of the polls. Oh, by the way, this released digitally yesterday.
Yeah.
Right.
To a big, DC Comics fuck you to comic book shops, I guess.
Yeah.
But so that's how I read it yesterday. But I just like a lot of these word balloons. I just kind of glazed over, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I caught the important stuff. Okay, there she's using Brainiac to do the disinformation and all that. But I just, man, there were bits that were, and I missed the Ground Zero issue too. So I know there's a lot of place setting I'm still missing, but this felt talky, and also It felt like it had those same sort of um shots of cities from Blood Hunt. Just those quick snapshots of different places being just eviscerated. So it just there were times where it just felt like everything was happening at once. And that's obviously how it's supposed to feel, but not in necessarily the good way to me. So I think I need more time with this.
Cale, I'd recommend reading Ground Zero too, because I think there is some
Yeah.
backstory.
Yeah,
there
I've
that
heard
would-
very
that would
good things.
assist you
And I
here,
did
yeah.
listen to the review last week. So
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. I really have been looking forward to this. You guys heard me last week talk about how I was excited and at the risk of getting duped by DC, but one of 4 issues in, and I think that they have something. What I like about this is that if you haven't been keeping up with anything, and this is your intro to Absolute Power and to everything Amanda Waller's been doing, then all you really have to accept is that AI images are causing people, the world at large, not to trust heroes. In fact, they think this is the moment where heroes have flipped. And everything that all the doomsayers have predicted for years, that one day Superman would turn on humanity, has finally happened. And I almost wish they would have focused more on just that, like that it's like Superman and specifically like Wonder Woman, but more specifically Superman, because he's an alien. I just think that tying this idea that there's a fear about heroes to the one who is an alien would really help tie this all together. But in general, I appreciate all that stuff. And the idea of taking the AI narrative and, can you really believe what your eyes see? Stuff that we're living through right now and tethering into this, I thought was really, really smart. The only thing that I wasn't enamored with fully, and it's going to take some time for me to accept this, or maybe it's just one of those things that I have to get over, is the heroes being depowered. It just sort of feels real hand wavy that you could just one fell swoop take away everybody's power like this. It's pretty nuts, but it's the event, I guess.
the one that got me was the magic.
Yeah,
because I was a bit like, well, how are you doing that? And I know they say that if you use magic, you can't even your brain won't let you think of a way to conjure it or whatever. So there's like a telepathy block, I guess. So I guess that's just like the Amazos working together broadly to cover every base is my guess.
yeah.
Which I guess sort of makes sense.
I consider that a part of the mystery of this too, like how.
Yeah.
Which I'm interested to learn from, but I also like how they cover their bases, because the immediate next thought would be like, well, then where's all the space people to help out? But Amanda Waller already thought of that, and so she already brokered a thing with the space UN.
That's actually a good point, like that framing, because I similarly thought, okay, this is very dismissive. It's super contrived that you can just do this all in one go. But if there's the mystery attached to figuring that out, looking at even the negotiation between Waller and the aliens and stuff, like how does that further even?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, look, we've had events where everybody's asleep. We've had events where everybody's got magic powers. Now we have an event where nobody has powers. And so I'm a little bit over the whole like blanket X type deal. But for Amanda Waller to be able to make a play like this, she's going to have to even the odds somehow.
Mhm.
And so, all right, Mark Wade, you got me here. How can you make me care on an emotional level without the heroes having their powers? Let's see what you got.
What I do like about the no powers though is that it puts Batman and the Bat family in an interesting spot, because
Yeah.
part of this is Batman's fault for creating failsafe. Even though he thought he got rid of it, this is kind of his fault. And B, now the Bat family is probably the most powerful superheroes outside the Flash. The Flash apparently can just outrun whatever this laser gun is that's taking their powers away. But they're poised to have real importance here that I think is pretty interesting.
And I think the Flash bit was the part that made it feel contrived.
That shit was so cool. Dude, when he was running through and like being the bridge for people to have conversation, that shit was slick, man. Like,
is that in Batman?
huh?
Was that in Batman or is that here?
It's here
I thought that was here.
Was it?
in Batman
I
for the
crazy?
cyborg stuff.
I think it's in Batman. Yeah. It's in
Oh,
Batman.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah,
Oh.
okay, my bad. That should have been here. That shit was
But,
amazing.
I mean, you're right, but it is in the next book.
Fair
Mark
enough.
Waid's really good at knowing how to make cool uses of Flash powers. Like think about a Flash in Kingdom Come. You know,
He wrote the Flash for
Yeah.
how many years? Like,
he's like the Wally writer. What do you guys think about the Green Arrow part of it?
Interesting twist. I've not been reading that book, so I don't know if it's as connected to this as it is just being describing why he would. But it feels like there's another angle there, and so I thought that was interesting. I'm trying to figure out why pick him, like why Green Arrow, and over all of the other heroes.
it feels like Justice League Unlimited. So in the first episode of Justice League Unlimited, the Justice League has brought every superhero into the Justice League. And that episode focuses on Green Arrow and his reluctance to join. Very specifically because he's like, look, you guys are up in satellites. Who's down here watching, the world? And Batman is like, that's why we picked you. So I think that's the angle. It's just like this is coming from that type of characterization. It's just like Green Arrow is literally just a guy. He doesn't even have a fortune to back him up. He's just a dude with a stick.
Sean, are you caught up on Green Arrow or you dropped it?
Oh, I dropped it.
Yeah. So there's some more context for it because after reading this I'm like, well shit, I got to read all of Green Arrow. So I caught up with Green Arrow as well, and there is a bit like throughout the whole series of him being a little uneasy with the idea of a Justice League post them not being around. And Amanda Waller also now has all of the interviews and the technology from Heroes in Crisis' Sanctuary. So
No way.
she has all of that like deep information about people and all their fears and all that. So he also knows she has that. So he's like willing to work with her a bit to make sure she doesn't use that. But I think it's a bit of keeping his enemy close, Amanda Waller, by working with her too. I don't think it's fully out of left field. I gotta say, his costume is slick as hell.
Yeah, it looks real cool. Kind of military.
I think this is him seeing the tea leaves for what they were and realizing, okay, they're not going to be able to stop this, so I'm going to embed myself and get as close as I can, and then at a critical moment help save the day. That's what I think, because I don't care what kind of context exists. This dude is cool with his friends being wiped out, being taken off the board completely. Like, nah, I don't buy it. So there has to be another ulterior, there has to be something else going on here.
Can we talk about, I think so this is my pick of the week, but the thing that stood out to me the most here is the Dan Mora art is phenomenal. But specifically the Alejandro Sanchez coloring on Dan Mora's art blew my mind.
It brings something wildly different.
Dude, it completely changed Dan Mora's art style from being kind of a flat cartoony Saturday morning cartoon show feel to something that just feels next level. Like this feels like a David Marquez, during like Civil War II, as much as I don't care for the content of that book. But like Dan Mora's art was good. Pairing him with Alejandro Sanchez, who I believe works with Gleason most of the time, Patrick Gleason, really just blew my mind. Because I was like, man, this stuff just looks amazing. Like it felt like an event quality art team.
Yeah.
I mean, Mora is already that, and I think to what you're saying, Tyler, like the moments where especially the magical people get depowered, this like flurry of rainbow color, even I think some of the lighting that happens, it's subtle, but Mora will place people in front of screens or in front of a light, and so there's like an additional blue hue that gets placed on top that is really nice to notice every once in a while. And just impressive because it's just a small detail.
This issue is insanely good looking. One of the best issues of the year from a visual standpoint. It's insane actually how good this looks. Like Failsafe looks amazing. Superman in those early pages looks fantastic. This just feels like big event level storytelling visually, and I'm so glad that this is where we are at. Like this is incredible stuff.
Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez have done one of the hardest things to do in DC Comics, and that's design a modern Animal Man costume that keeps the jacket and looks cool. The way him and Animal Girl both had matching costumes, I was like, man, whoa, what is this? Like right off the bat.
The only thing that I need the next issue to do that this one didn't do at all is utilize Brainiac Queen. The Ground Zero issue establishes that Amanda Waller and Brainiac were in this Matrix for 20 years of time inside the Matrix. That's how much time passed for them. And they have a mother-daughter type of relationship. And I felt like the dialogue, the very little dialogue we got that referenced Brainiac Queen on Amanda Waller's part, didn't consider that fact at all.
It was kind of a weird statement to begin with.
Yeah, like it felt like Mark Waid missed the memo a little bit. So my hope is that relationship will be played on more going forward. But outside of that, this was a banger, man. This was really great. Is it my pick of the week? Probably. Yeah, I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not surprising. It's an event book. And I don't even mean that like, oh, Sean is of course it's pick. It's just like, listen, it's a banger.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Easy pull.
John Kent, we complained about it last week. We were talking about DC, that he's just not used at all. He finally has a use here, or is this the beginning of them writing him off?
We'll see.
Couldn't tell you.
Man, is he going to be the Superman of Absolute Comics?
I thought it was gonna be like
No.
a tragic villain.
I feel like something awful is about to happen.
Yeah.
Man, I guess June's over, right? Nice, DC.
Damn.
Chat, where are we at with Absolute Power? I know it's Wednesday. A lot of you might not have been able to get to your polls yet. Maybe you didn't get to your LCS yet. For those of you who did, what are your thoughts? We haven't read too many comments from you guys yet. What's up, James Jones? What's up, Comic Boom? Uncanny Suit. Gavin Guidry, whose name is in the credits of Birds of Prey number 11. We're going to get to that in a little bit. What's up, Rami? What's up, Planet 628? They say, I was going to pass on this until I saw the colors. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, this is a gorgeous comic. Welcome to the channel. Haven't seen your name in the chat before. Andrew Smith says 10 out of 10. Philosopher King says absolutely pull it. Franelation says it was so good. Thank you. Glad you guys are enjoying it. Blaze Man, I'm super excited to read it now. Yes. John, if you want to know what Rook is about, listen to one of our reviews or check out imagecomics.com.
Last week, we did one.
Yeah. Absolute Power is my pick of the week, says K Manifesto. Yes, yes, yes. This was awesome. This was awesome.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. I wish it was longer than 4 issues though. I just really feel like that is so tight.
Hey, and I think that's another sort of issue I have with this is that it's 4 issues, and this is sort of like a lot happened here, but like for 4 issues, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It feels like it's going to be a little fast moving, but we do have the tie-in, so I wonder if they're going to play that much more of an important role in what this event is.
And you know what? Especially after reading Batman, we'll get there. I think I'm into the tie-ins too.
And there's not many. Like you saw that checklist. It's not compare that to the
Yeah.
Blood Hunt checklist. Night and day.
Yeah,
Well, that's for this month.
Fair. Yeah.
true.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I might be less into the tie-ins then.
DC did a smart thing by hiding the actual amount of ties.
The magnitude of it.
Marco made the exact same comment last week, and I retorted with the exact same response.
Gonna happen next week too, Sean.
Maybe. Andrew Smith says, honestly, Blood Hunt makes me not mad that Absolute Power is only 4 issues. But see, the thing for me is like when I get a good event, I want to get it, like I want it for months. I want 7 issues, 8 issues. Give me something long that I can sink my teeth into. Sometimes with these things, you get into it and it's over.
Yeah.
But other times, you wish it was shorter. Night Terrors should have been 1 issue. You know what I'm saying? I would have been
Blood
perfectly happy.
Should have been 1.
Hey, Blood Hunt issue 1, I thought was awesome.
Should have stopped there.
Yeah.
Blood Hunt issue 1 is like possibly on like some of the best issues of the year for me.
Whoa.
Issue 1.
Blood Hunt?
Issue 1. I really liked issue 1.
One of the best issues of the year. All right.
For the show. That'd be right for the show.
Smoking that McKay strain.
Yo.
Pack watch.
Oh man. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us so far. We've got 5 more books on tap, if you can believe that. Big week for us over here. Make sure that you guys hang out with us this Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for the main show. Nothing is changing about that. If you want to watch this show live, next week it'll be on Thursday, back to our regularly scheduled day. We'll be with you guys then. Cale, what time is it by you?
11:30.
All right. We have a special thing to do in about a half an hour.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
We're all gonna stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and salute the flag.
Sure, of course.
On British time, obviously.
You heard me right, Franelations. You heard me right. Let's talk Batman 150. Batman 150. Huge milestone for the Caped Crusader. Wonder how many times there's been an issue 150 of Batman.
I bet Hound knows.
Right? Where's Hound at tonight? Chip Zdarsky on the words with art by Dennis Cohen, George Jimenez, inks by John Staniski, colors by Tamu Moray, letters by Clayton Cowles. This is labeled as an Absolute Power tie-in. It has elements of that for sure. The first bit is an interesting story about a guy who learns the secret identity of the Batman and wants to peddle it in exchange for big bucks so that he can get out of the gooning gig. He doesn't want to be one of those run-of-the-mill goons in Gotham, of which there are many. He wants to live his life right and get out the lifestyle. And everywhere he goes, Batman is watching. And ultimately, he makes the decision that, maybe some things are better left unsaid, What you guys make of the first story?
This dude doesn't want to be a true gooner anymore.
He's out the life.
I liked it. I like Dennis Cohen a lot. It's just like happy Batman for me. Just what I think of when I think of Batman sometimes. I like the inner cuts with it was Jimenez, right, on it.
Yeah.
Once we get the kind of flashbacks to Batman fighting somebody, especially that Two-Face page. I know Sean popped for that Two-Face page.
I did.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I thought it was a little stupid of this dude to think he could just do this. Like, none of his plans worked. It was all dumb. But I like the story, and I like how it. I guess it's one more dangling plot thread from Chip's run that's snipped. We're closing that one off.
Uh, I had a blast with this. I thought this was a really cool perspective and way to represent Batman. Like I like the issues where he's a looming force, and in this he very much like hovers over this would be bad guy, and follows him around. There's intimidation involved. He's getting in his own head. I like that he acts very much as the the guardian there, and it's a fun position to see. It's a little passive, but I like that it's a change of pace, especially coming off of what we've been reading, where it's been so involved on that. It just felt like a good, beach kind of episode. You're just having a fun time. It's out of not out of continuity, but it's out of the context of what you've been reading so far, and that makes it feel fresh. And so, had a lot of fun. And at the end, where we see the that he's helped out his kid for so long, and there's a good lesson at the end of it. That's what I like in my comics.
Marco, who is the main character of this book?
Dude, Bruce Wayne.
No. It was the blonde guy. It was the thug.
Right.
So the protagonist of the story wasn't passive at all.
No, I'm saying Batman was. Batman's just like
because the story's not about him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm not sure where
Am
either
I-
of you are going.
I enjoyed this a lot. I thought this was cool. I didn't expect this. I was actually kind of annoyed when I first started the issue because
Yeah.
I was like, well, where's the absolute power here? What's the deal? But once I got over that, and pretty much once I saw Two-Face, I was like, all right, I'm in. I'll ride with this. And I enjoyed it. A lot of people complain about, oh, well, why doesn't Bruce Wayne use his massive fortune to help more people in the city of Gotham? Meh, meh, meh.
I like this voice. Do
I
more of
like that voice a lot.
Thank you. Let's clip it and use it for a super chat. I don't have that complaint, but issues like this hopefully shut those people up.
Yeah.
Because we know, you're supposed to know as the reader, like there's just some information as the reader that you're supposed to have in your brain, right? And one of those things is that Bruce Wayne does all that he can for Gotham with the resources that he has. All of the resources. Yes, all the time.
All the resources, all the time.
Yeah, like that's not supposed to be a question in your mind. And they don't need to show you that for you to know that. Just like Spider-Man goes out every night and beats up regular goons, but he also fights Venom and Carnage and Green Goblin. And that's what they show us because that's what's interesting, right? Got it? Good. So this issue focuses once in a blue on that type of story where it's not Batman who saves the day. It's Bruce Wayne and his ability to take people who are otherwise good, well-meaning people who fall through the cracks, just like a lot of people in Gotham probably do, and help them get on the right path. Maybe this dude would never have gotten into crime and being a goon for Joker or Two-Face or whoever if he had more resources when he made that choice the first time, And I love that. I love that Batman can be that, and that every now and then we are going to see something like this. I thought it was well written. The Dennis Cohen art's great. It's a good issue.
And we need to see that. And I think frankly, I don't think we see this type of thing enough. I'm not saying it needs to be every issue, but this type of thing, if we saw it slightly more often, would it would stomp out that inane conversation.
And
It's humanizing.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be the focus of the story either. Like, if they just have, like, those splash pages where they just show a montage of Batman doing things, they did it really well in this with the Jimenez art, or like Batman's just feeding a homeless person. He's
Yeah.
helping a kid, putting his cape on him. Like little just snippets and windows into that is enough.
Yeah, this was cool. Good stuff. The absolute power bit of it is the last few pages that we get in the back, which is what I had initially thought was in absolute power number 1, but it's not. And certainly I feel like seeing the Flash do this, seeing him use his power to, run to everybody that he needs to talk to and exchange messages between them is something that should have been shown in absolute power number 1 first. I don't understand how they didn't. Just another bit of evidence, in my opinion, that the event is too short to fit everything in. But the story is pretty good anyway. It shows us that Cyborg is under an attack by a virus, which I love because Cyborg is a legitimate problem for what Amanda Waller is doing. And so having an answer to that is what you would expect from her.
The Brainiac Queen just zip bombed him. He's just
Got
overwhelmed.
a Trojan.
Yeah.
But
It's a good
really,
idea.
Batman is not too relevant here. It's more just like him thinking about the fact that he did create failsafe, and now that weapon that he created is being turned against him and all his allies, which is probably something that the books are going to reflect on more down the road. I would have to imagine. But I enjoyed it. Overall, this was a really solid issue, Batman.
How did Cyborg get out of the virus computer stuff?
I have no idea.
I just thought it was like when you just pull a USB cable without ejecting. Like, hardware damage be damned, just yank them out of there.
Yeah.
My dude was wrapped up, like he was fucking
Yeah.
installed.
Right? Like, yeah. Like I feel like that because it's literally a panel jump.
Yeah.
And then he's just standing there. I think he's even in a new costume. Like,
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that maybe the Amazobot jumping or blasting through all the blasting through the ground, destroyed all that, but that doesn't add up really.
and it sure doesn't indicate that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool as hell though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you care that it wasn't the main issue? Like it was a backup?
No. I think Sean and Comic Boom both really nailed it on the head. I feel like this really should have been in the main issue, even if it was a backup in the main issue. This it doesn't feel wasted here, but it like compared with the previous story, it doesn't fit.
Like this beat?
This moment, yeah, this second story alongside Batman 150.
And the fact that it's the mother box that Waller has, does that I just remember that was the thing. Like, does that involve or implicate anything for why she's able to reach out at such mass to the other heroes? Can she reach them differently? I don't know the mechanics of the mother box.
It could explain why the Amazos are absolutely everywhere.
Also, the mother box is almost like a cosmic cube level of power source, right?
Yeah.
So they can pretty much supercharge anything. It's Energon.
She's got failsafe. She's got the Brainiac Queen. She's got the mother box. She's basically got the trinity of DC supercomputers.
Yeah. She has all the shit.
And Peacemaker.
Oh.
Thank you to the 40 plus of you that are hanging out with us on a Wednesday night, not even our normal night. I'm glad that you guys got the memo about us having to do this tonight instead of tomorrow. Appreciate you for that. Any other thoughts on Batman before we move on? Pull, pass? I'm pulling.
Pull.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah, that's a pull.
No. No.
Tyler Steve wants to know what your furry desk buddy is called.
Oh, Sabian Tat. That's Sir Laszlo Cravensworth, or just Laszlo for short.
Hey, what's up, LTRX? They say first time catching you live. Other than the Saturday shows, it's 0.40 a.m. here in Sweden, which I assume
0.40.
means it is 12:40.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, cool. I just never seen that way before. Well, thank you for joining us, LTRX. Appreciate you, dude. Franilation says liked and shared to X as soon as I joined. As always, thank you
Oh.
so much.
This guy right here.
Talk
Yes.
about that. Talk about real absolute power.
Yes, it's king stuff, king queen stuff. James Jones says we in the house for the pals. Thank you, James. Thank you, big time, James. Just jamming, James Jones, who just recently joined us on the Patreon side of things. Let's talk about Birds of Prey, number 11. This is by Kelly Thompson, written by
That's
Kelly
cool.
Thompson, with art by three
Count 'em?
awesome artists. Three awesome artists: Robbie Rodriguez, Javier Pina, and Gavin Guidry.
Hello.
Colors
Wow.
by Jordi Belair. Letters by Clayton Cowles. So this is continuing with what the story has been for the last couple issues now, where the birds are going through these different portals within the pocket dimension, and every time they go through a portal, depending on who the first person was through it, they end up in a differently skinned reality. And so in this one, we get a reality that is Jurassic. It's Jurassic era of Earth, where there are literal dinosaurs trying to kill the birds of prey. And normally, not my thing. Don't really like dinosaurs in my superhero books.
Wait, you don't like dinosaurs?
I didn't say that. I love dinosaurs. I don't like dinosaurs in my superhero books.
Hmm.
But this was a lot of fun in terms of the way that kind of plays out, especially with Big Barda. I do have some questions that I probably shouldn't have about the way that Black Canary's powers work and how they affect people, because she is letting her voice fly in this battle, and nobody but these dinosaurs is effective.
Yeah.
Okay, comic power stuff.
Direct the voice, right?
Yeah. Somehow,
Well,
some way.
Like
What's
a
his name?
laser.
Yeah.
Vixen's powers are on the fritz, meanwhile. And I really liked that bit. I thought that was a very effective bit. She's basically just a human with no abilities, no ability to fight, nothing like that. And so she's kind of scared. And yeah, this felt like a even though there were dinosaurs involved and all that kind of cool shit, it felt like a cooldown issue from a story perspective. Like, not a lot happened to move things forward, but I still enjoyed it. It was still fun.
Take it a beat, just like continuing to live in this world. I think that's a good thing for a book to do, because then you might run into the issue where you're not spending enough time individually with the characters, and it's fine if plot doesn't progress as much as you get to explore the ideas involved. So I really appreciated that.
Well, and I think what's so interesting is the bit of forward momentum we get is so small, but also so crucial that it doesn't feel wasted.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is such a an interesting Kelly Thompson thing. Like, I don't feel like I've ever seen anyone else just really just hit the nail on the head in that precise way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also really enjoyed and I'm not a Constantine fan, but I enjoyed his little appearance here. Um, just because he's clearly on to the same thing that I'm on to, which is that my thought since the very first time that there was a question about who was orchestrating all this is that it's Meridian from the future. And Constantine, I feel like, is thinking the same thing. That's why he's like kind of questioning, like, oh, so they're using your power set and we can't figure out who it is, you know? So I really like that. But there's also something else that I really loved in this sequence. And I don't know if it was intentional, but I sort of think it was on the art front. If you look at I always forget her name. Why is it that I can never
Zealot.
remember her name?
Yeah.
Zealot, yes. If you look at this panel right here, where Zealot is sitting on the ground, listening to Meridian and Constantine talk, look at that glove. Look at that glove.
You know what? Gavin literally just said I got to draw Constantine, so that's what I appreciated about the issue. So that's confirmation right there, my man.
Well, the glove, as much as I thought this was a great issue, seeing that, I spotted that my first time flipping through this. And thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Gavin.
Turning Sean into a Wildstorm fan.
I don't know about Wildstorm. I know about Zealot and the fact that now, canonically, she wears half gloves.
I think Gavin teased that like, oh, there's a good cameo next issue, and I guess it's Constantine here. I always like a good Constantine cameo. Works.
He pops in. He can be a dick and just like walk out.
I also like the bit where Zealot calls him Hellblazer, and he's like, no, call me Constantine. But there's almost like a nod to like, oh, I'm in a DC proper book. Call me Constantine. I'm only Hellblazer when I'm in Vertigo books.
We can't say hell here.
Yeah.
I love seeing you guys give Gavin his flowers in the chat. That's awesome.
Well deserved.
One thing,
Sean, can I ask you a question about your theory real quick?
Yeah.
Before we move too far away. Do you think it's a further future Meridian
Yes.
doing all this than the one we're with now?
Yeah.
Interesting.
what continues to impress me about this book is that it continues to balance between just real fun action scenes that the artist can really play around with. Like, I'm sure if an artist says, gets a script and it's like, oh, it's Big Barda punching a dinosaur, that's probably pretty fun to draw.
Guaranteed.
But it does that and also has that quiet moment where Vixen questions, her mortality in a way, and has to come to terms with like not being in touch with the voices of the Red that she is constantly with, and she's alone. And like the bit where Black Canary just lets her deal with it because that's what she asked for. It's like a very human, realistic interaction between two actual friends that Kelly Thompson nails time and time again. Like, these people feel like human friends. Yeah. That I think a lot of books maybe doesn't feel as genuine with, but like I think Kelly just understands how people talk to each other, and it just works so well.
And I think what it's involved to maintain relationships between between characters to make for interesting dynamics, because you can have individuals that continue to bump heads, but the interesting part becomes how do they work through that? How does it worsen? Like how do those dynamics change over time?
Gavin says, every chance I get, look at my cover for issue 13. I posed it in just the right way.
Is that
Hell
the
yeah,
right
brother.
way? Just half gloves on the cover, just
that's the
showing
full cover.
showing all those half covered fingies.
Oh my god, dude. And then Vixen gets like her Phoenix moment at the end of this. That was sick.
Yeah.
I was really happy to see that. That was super cool. It's just a great book, dude.
And I don't have too much familiarity with Vixen. Like, I know she exists, and she's always shown up on the peripherals. But I don't think I've ever really read a Vixen story. So it is nice to see her kind of get her shine here.
Yeah, I don't think there are that many.
Easy pull. I think pound for pound, Birds of Prey is probably the best superhero book on the stands.
Definitely team book for sure. Yeah.
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 Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot of competition for the team book aspect, considering that Marvel's serving up whatever that is that Jed McKay's doing with Avengers, and DC is uninterested in giving us the Justice League right now. So,
The preeminent team, Birds of Prey, not Titans.
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot the Titans were even a thing. So,
Well,
It's
John Horchler asks, "Is Birds of Prey worth buying?" Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
great book.
And I love when we get to recommend books to people that are, like in something like the tens, because you can realistically catch up with this. If you are
Yeah.
not, if you haven't read anything, you don't need anything other than to start with issue 1 of this. And you can realistically work your way up to 11. You don't need a lot of pre-knowledge of these characters. I've never read a Birds of Prey book before this, and I'm loving it, and I don't feel like I'm lost in any way. So, yeah, I would say this is an easy buy.
Yep. 100%.
Easy pull.
And it looks like the first volume 1 is finally coming out next month. So
Oh, good. Good. James Jones says The Birds of Prey was one of the best drawn comic books I have seen all year. I hope this book survives the DC All In initiative. I'm confident that it will.
And I would say if it doesn't, I would say keep your eye on Kelly Thompson
Yeah, wherever she goes.
and Gavin Giftry, of course.
Yeah, and everybody involved in this book is doing stellar work. I mean, you talk about a book that's guaranteed to be on some best of lists at the end of the year.
It's
Birds of Prey.
definitely going to be on ours.
Yeah, 100%. Uncanny Suit. Sean gets grumpy if he doesn't get his healthy dose of half gloves. You're right. And now that the Krakoan age, the first Krakoan age has come to an end, I have nowhere to go to get my fix. The only place is Birds of Prey, which elevates this book above all other Soups books because nobody else is rocking them half gloves. I got to get my fix from Zealot.
Heroes and a half glove. Birds of Prey.
Oh, jeez.
what if it was the other half of the glove? Does that still work?
That's like a
Oh.
wrist sweatband.
Oh,
That's like what that's what like Superman had on his cuff, when he came back, you know what I'm saying?
The
Yeah,
tantalizing parts are the fingers.
Oh,
not
yeah.
Your
Oh, yeah.
wrist,
Ooh,
your
say it
palm.
again, Marco.
Yeah. I know you, Marco.
Wow. I really was thinking deeply about that. Let's move on from the first half of the Kelly Thompson Power Hour and dig into the second by digging into Scarlet number 2, written
Boom.
by the aforementioned Kelly Thompson, with art by Marco Ferrari, colors by Lee Lowridge, and letters by Russ Wooten. So this issue picks up pretty directly from where the first one left off. Scarlet is in a bind, literally, and she uses her skills to get out of it, her forward thinking to get out of it. And we get a lot of sick ninja fight action, drawn, illustrated beautifully by Ferrari. Then we kind of slip into Scarlet using her ability to convince people of things that she's really down with this. And she tries to infiltrate the group, just like her buddy Vixen did. And she's given a mission that nobody actually believes she'll be able to accomplish. And that's why she's going to take it on. And that's where the issue ends. I really loved this issue. This was as good as the first one, easily.
Just pick of the week for me. It's just action packed. I love Scarlet as a character. She's confident. She's calm. Always collected. This is the same stuff that I love the James Bond comics for. It has all of those flavors, and this is an extension of that in a totally different universe. These are the things that I'm caring about coming into the Energon universe. I love this character right now.
Hell yeah.
I would love to read a Kelly Thompson script because I want to know how she scripts out these fight sequences because they're good. They're
Substack.
always good though. You know, like I mentioned, the Birds of Prey fighting dinosaurs. But like you think back on like her Black Widow stuff, like really good stuff. So I'd be curious to see what that script looks like because the bit here where it was 3 panels where Scarlet kicks up the chair, then the next panel is her kicking the chair, and the third one is the reaction to the chair hitting the guy. I thought it was like, oh man, that's just paced fun, and it worked in the way I was reading it. Yeah, this is great. The other bit, which again I talked about it in Birds of Prey and how she wrote it, that flashback sequence that's colored in like a scarlet red hue, I really like, but that whole relationship between her and Jinx is just natural feeling. It's like it's not romantic. They're just good friends, and like it was like Jinx telling Scarlet was upset that there was a some guy she was talking to or whatever. So like Jinx can tell that and read her and understand her and know what she needs for that. Man, it's good stuff. Big Kelly Thompson fan. So happy to see that she's getting the much needed recognition and deserved recognition.
Yeah, this is just awesome comics. Like I didn't anticipate, well, okay. I sort of anticipated that Scarlet would be my favorite of these characters just because, right? But I didn't realize that this would become my favorite of the Energon Universe books.
Yeah.
And it is 2 issues in. It's just so good. And it's like, I would love for there to be more bigger picture stuff in this to some degree, but there isn't. And that's fine too, because it's a very personal story that fleshes out a character that hopefully will have some legs now to maybe have a longer series in the future, or at the very least be somebody that's a part of G.I. Joe that I can care about. Because now I know Duke and I like Duke, and now I've got Scarlet and I care about Scarlet. So that's great.
Not only that, it's fleshing out the world with the Arishikage. I don't know how to pronounce it, but like this other sect of people with Storm Shadow, who is badass. And like he's in this, but he's not really too much in this. You don't get to see the cool Storm Shadowiness that he is, but it also establishes him where he is in this world. And even if we don't really get much more of him, it's still building out that world, but still telling a standalone story.
It makes him feel a little complicated, and I like the reservation to use him. To be able to hold back, I think, is probably one of the biggest talents for any creative, is knowing how to measure yourself. And so if they're keeping him on the back burner, but still presenting him to be like he's around, that's cool. So those are really good moments. And then I just wanted to shout out the art. Marco Ferrari here is doing such cool stuff, and there are moments where he introduces just very small beats and panel cutaways to help make the talkie panels a little more dynamic. There's a sequence where she's talking to Shadowstorm, and they're just sipping tea, but the panel goes away. It focuses on the cup. It cuts away to a plain white background where it's just 3 word balloons, very clean, very concise. And I think that that's hard to do, to communicate that, both from a script perspective and also from an art perspective. And so, real good stuff.
That cutting away from the cup bit that you mentioned actually jumped out to me when I was reading it, because it's that, I forget the name of the art and ceramic thing, but it's when you gold lace broken pottery to rebuild it, and she's talking about how she's kind of a soldier with no country, and she's looking to rebuild. I was like, oh man, that's just good storytelling there in the art.
It's also what Kelly is also doing here alongside Marco, obviously, but through Kelly's sort of leadership is using this moment of making a cup of tea to give Marco something to do. It's very, very smart, because it makes action and it makes the page feel like it's moving, and this moment is moving because we see the tea being made and being poured and being drunk.
It's cinematic. You wouldn't see a movie of a person just talking. They're going to be doing something. That is part of acting. You have to use what's in the room, and kind of translating that to a comic works. Yeah.
Easiest pull. Absolute power, man. I'm struggling to keep it as my pick of the week between Scarlet and Birds of Prey. But I'm
This
gonna
was
hold
mine.
out.
This was definitely mine.
Yeah.
Definite pull. Yeah,
Yep.
100%.
Okay. The listeners had their say in the poll, and you guys voted for Free Agents #1. That's the book you wanted us to read this week. The poll for next week is up now. I put it up since, we're not doing the show tomorrow. We're doing it today. Might as well get the poll up today. So that poll is up right now. If you guys want to get your vote on, which we would, of course, appreciate you doing, make sure that you cast your vote at youtube.com/the Comics Pals under the community tab. On the poll this week, we have Task Force 7, #1, which is what I voted for. That's at 33% of the vote. Transformers #10 is at 36% of the vote. Batman Gotham by Gaslight #2, the Kryptonian Age #2 sitting at 14%, and Green Lantern #13 at 17%. I'm surprised at that. I thought Green Lantern would do a lot better just because of how big that book is. It is also an Absolute Power tie-in issue, I believe. So you do have that as well. But get your vote on. Let us know what you want us to read next week when we are back with you on Thursday for this show. And also, whether you are with us live or in the future, smash the like button.
Smash.
As we get into our next review, Free Agents #1, co-written by both Fabian Nicieza and Kurt Busiek, with art by Stephen Mooney, colors by Triona Farrell, and letters by Comic Craft. So some legacy creators, Kurt and Fabian, who've been around for the longest, and they're introducing a new super team to the mix. We talked about how there aren't enough super teams in comics, and so we're getting a new one. And this oversized 40-page issue introduces us to a team of heroes whose war is over, whose mission is accomplished, who have done what they set out to do, and now they are on Earth, kind of, living it up. But a new mission calls, and we get to see a little bit of their history. We get to see their power sets. We get to see a lot, in fact. And I felt good and bad about this. I enjoyed a lot of this, but I felt like it was too much. It was overstuffed. They threw out, there's a lot of characters. There's like 7 or so characters that we are learning about at once, and they're interesting. Like the one guy, John, who's got kind of a Hulk thing going on almost, where he's out of control of his powers. I thought that was really cool, and I love how they showed that off. But man, there was just so many new names and powers and worlds and things and stuff, and like way too much. I feel like there's a real tight 28-pager in here that condenses a lot of this and cuts the fat of what we don't really need to know at the absolute minute, that I would have really loved. But for what this was, I had a lot of fun with it. And 40 pages at $3.99 is easy to recommend. And I think there's something here. I actually think there's something here.
Busiek just understands superhero archetypes so well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Nicieza as well. But, as an Astro City fan, I just know this is just Busiek's bread and butter. And I enjoyed his take on these, you got the Captain America type, you got the Hulk type, you have your Lightning user. So and your feral Wolverine-esque type. It's cool to see him playing in that, and especially since this is, I don't know about ongoing, but it's at least a couple more issues. So he'll be able to actually sit in there a little bit and maybe embed himself and flesh these characters out. I do feel like I'm with you, Sean. There's a little too much. once we got that backstory in space, like necessary, but I kind of got lost a bit. I got taken out. Like I was enjoying sitting with the characters, and even the back matter talks about how they wanted to tell a story about heroes that already finished this cosmic event level war, and now they're on Earth and they have to slow down. And how do they handle that? And I was enjoying that part of it until it's not that. And I felt like it already
Yeah.
lost its mission objective on the first issue. It was a little too much for me, and I was getting a little bit of Nice House syndrome. Like I was able to recognize the characters when they were in costume. As soon as they're out of costume, I can only recognize like two of them, and I was getting lost between like the werewolf guy when he's out of werewolf form, and the Captain America guy, uh, Brigand. I don't remember his name.
Salvo?
Salvo, sure, yeah. Um, I was getting lost, and the women looking a little similar. So I think it needs a little more of a. Maybe I just need to sit with it longer to learn who these characters are. But I didn't hate it. I do. I'm interested to see if it'll tie into more Image stuff because they mentioned Cyberforce, which is like that. Is that who is that? Mark Teixeira or not? Who is it? I'm looking this up now. Mark Silvestri, the other Mark. That's like an Image property, so it is going to be within an Image verse, which then I think also ties into Savage Dragon. So, be curious to see how that works here, because I do kind of have a not a love, but a like for those ugly Image '90s characters. Like if Ripclaw shows up in here at some point, sure, cool. But I didn't love this issue, but I thought it was pretty good.
I think from an art perspective, similar to what you guys are saying in terms of the narrative and the story here, even the panels felt cramped. There was a lot of quick succession, small panels. You try to fit everybody into it. And so not only did it feel like I'm getting so much information thrown out of it, I have to like squint to take a look and distinguish these individuals. And so not that it's more work, but I think it's a poor delineation of characters visually. And so for me, those moments really hampered the book. I felt like I was kind of just trugging through this thing. It did not. I didn't feel like I was having fun with it necessarily. And I know Kurt could do a lot of good work. I loved a lot of the stuff that he's done. Outside of Astro City, Autumnlands is one of my favorite comics from Image, and it just feels like he's not handling the full dynamics of this team well, because I don't know what they are. I think I needed a slower introduction to some of these people, focus on one or two characters, don't throw all of it at me, and don't show me all of that.
Yeah, I echo basically everything that's been said. I think one thing I really had trouble with were the captions.
Mm.
It's in this sort of, you know, text that is specifically made for this universe or whatever, and it's like robot or like military or future speak or whatever. And so I don't quite know what any of it means yet. And it was just hard to keep track of what was going on because of that. And then when you get into the dream sequence and the REM cycles, all of a sudden it just jumps into the action, and then it's just pages and pages and pages of action. And I was like, wait, but I thought we were in a dream, and now they're all connected and everybody's here and we're all doing this. Are we still in a dream? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just it just wasn't communicated well. And I think
Yeah.
that that's just one of those things that personally I expected things like that to not be a problem in a book done by a team of this stature. So that
Yeah.
was a little disappointing, but like I said, despite all these things we've said, I really think there's something here. I enjoyed this.
And I think reading the back matter really made me say, okay, wait, I'm gonna give this a little more time to figure out who these characters are. One, because Busiek's earned it for me, but also like, the pitch going forward is like, this was the big moment. then we're gonna slow down and you're gonna really get to know each of these people. I was like, okay, all right.
And also, you know, I mentioned it already, but they took it on the chin by giving us a 40 pager for $3.99. This ain't Marvel or DC. That, you know, they didn't need to do that. And I respect that. I respect that decision, even if I think it might not have been the right one for this. But I really want to love this. Like, I like it a lot. I want to love it. I am definitely going to read the next issue. And I hope that I can come back here and tell you, hey guys, it's it. This is it. I would love to be able to feel that way.
Yeah.
But for now, it's a pull.
Same.
It's a tentative poll. It's a super heroics team. I can get that elsewhere. I feel like I'm here for Kurt more than anything else.
Oh my god, I think it's a pass.
Oh,
I just like it was so, like we said, it was so opaque. I just I have a hard time recommending this issue.
Sure.
Like we say, maybe with, you know, the ones coming after it, we can look back and go, oh, okay, I understand what's going on. But with this issue, I think I have a hard time recommending.
all right. Well, I'm going to recommend that everybody say happy birthday to one Cale Ward, whose birthday is
Whoa.
July 4th.
Whoa.
And on his side of the pond, it is now 12 a.m. or
12
0011, 0.11. So happy birthday, Cale.
Wow, thank you so much. Wow. I'm 35 and I've never felt more 75.
For he is a grumpy
You
old
look it.
fellow. For he is a grumpy old fellow.
Love it. What's your plan for your birthday, Cale?
I genuinely have no idea. Jess has got a massive weekend planned. I got 4 choices. I got a convention, I got a sporting event, a film, or a concert. And so I got to pick 2. And these things are what's going to happen over the weekend. So I picked the concert, I think, and I think we ended up with the convention. Now I know the convention has been canceled because she found something cooler. Again, mind you, I don't know what any of this is. So if this sounds silly, I don't know what any of it is either.
That's rad.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, whatever you end up getting into, I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you. Rami wants to know if we sing happy birthday or the national anthem. Do not sing the national anthem. I don't want to hear a firework. I will take my strawberry and blueberry flag cake and I will go sit in a different room. This is my birthday.
America has it after.
Is
That's
there like a
right.
Is there like a British happy birthday song, like a UK version, or do they do the Patty and Martha Hill version?
So they do the Patty and Martha Hill version, but they also add Hip Hip Hooray. And they do that,
so fucking
3
British.
times. It's weird.
What do you got? You got
Weird.
poppers too, and not the ones that we have in the US, the party poppers, right?
I don't know if I've been to a birthday with party poppers. Of either kind.
Sparklers like an American.
Well, Cale, Marvel Comics wanted to give you a gift for your birthday.
And did they?
Yes, they did. They gave you the gift of Spider-Man Reign 2.
Let's go.
Number 1 from Carr Andrews, making his big return to Spider-Man Reign, a story that, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say it put him on the map. I know that it put him on my radar way back in the day when that first came out. And we are finally at the point of the sequel. Apparently he had a story to tell, and boy, did he tell it. So he was joined by Brian Reber on colors and Joe Caramagna on the letters. And so, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Spider Man Rain verse, if you will, this is essentially a world that's, 3 minutes into the future or whatever, where Peter is older now and MJ has died. She died due to radioactivity.
Yeah.
And I'll let you figure out what activity I'm referring to. And
Radioactivity.
right. And Peter went nuts. Peter went a little nuts. Marco, go read the book or go to Wikipedia.
We need to do a book club.
um, and so, Peter essentially has to go up against a new order in New York City that involves Venom and involves a lot of his classic foes, and he beats them, but he's really old, and so, whatever. This picks up shortly after that, where he's trapped in some kind of a, Matrix-ish-esque system, and the world is even further in hell. Kingpin has been unleashed, and now he's somehow the mayor. And a new character called Cat has to help Peter reclaim his Spider-Man-ness so that they can take out the Kingpin and rescue New York once again. And those are the broad strokes of this. The Spider-Man Reign book and this follow-up are very strange. They're very weird. They have the Dark Knight Returns qualities to them, and that's often been the comparison. So if Spider-Man Reign is the Dark Knight Returns, is this the Dark Knight Strikes Again?
I think the thing that will separate this is the lack of 9/11.
Not understanding that.
So
Yeah.
the thing that really sends the Dark Knight Strikes Again off of the absolute deep end is that 9/11 happens in the middle of it. And you watch Frank Miller have an absolute breakdown on the page. And to me, it makes it a completely different book. I will go to bat for the Dark Knight Strikes Again every time.
I'm with you, Cale. Yeah. Comparing this to that is almost offensive.
Well, we ain't got there yet. Unless something absolutely crazy happens and Kara Andrews has just a complete meltdown. I don't know that you can actively compare them.
All right, well, talk about the book.
Sure. I thought this was phenomenal. This was my pick of the week, and I am sure anyone who knows me could see that coming a mile away. Kara Andrews has this incredible voice for this Peter that has like this weird like old man desperation, but then in the caption it's like in the captions where I think we're supposed to assume it's Peter thinking. It has this melancholy memory to it, where it's like this thick wistfulness that looks back through and over the life of Peter and the way things have turned out. I especially love the voice, and it was like stepping right back into it. The last time I read Spider-Man Reign was probably 2010. I felt like I could have read it yesterday. The voice was just so strong for me. It's the setting I think is a little weird. So we talked a bit about how Reign is set up in this future where someone has used Venom to create a net over New York basically where we are now is 10 or so years later, and it's happened again, but this time the net has saved New York. And that I think is weird.
Hmm.
This also does the thing that a lot of Spider-Man things are doing, where at the end it introduces Miles. And I don't know if I'm here for that or not.
Hmm. It's gonna depend on how they use him for me. Like,
Yeah,
why is
yeah.
he here? Yeah.
Um,
I thought he was
please.
gonna be the protagonist of this.
Especially with
I
the cover that
genuinely
you got
didn't.
too, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in it. I hadn't seen that cover.
Hmm. Tyler,
I didn't like this at all. um,
have you read Rain 1?
I said I was going to read it last week, right?
Yes.
I didn't do it.
Okay.
So
Forgot.
no.
Forgot. So no, I have not read Rain 1. I know what happens, Marco. Again, Wikipedia that. But it's kind of like that like it's almost like a meme in my head. I've never read it, so I don't really have any kind of horse in that race. But this, I just found it to be a little too obtuse and a little too weird for my taste. Like the whole, like the one thing I thought was cool was Peter being stuck to a machine and they're feeding him protein, it was just bugs, which I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess if you're just shoving bugs down your gullet, that's protein, sure. Even though a different protein was written about in the first Spider-Man reign, but the rest of it was just a little like he just gets randomly pulled underground by the Green Goblin. It doesn't make any sense. They got AI going on in there. Um, I mean the AI thing's a whole other thing, and it just didn't it didn't hook me. The world felt it was almost like I don't want to say too dark, but like when I think of Spider-Man, this is not how I envision Spider-Man. And not to say my vision of Spider-Man is the only vision and version, but this was just like he kind of felt out of character for me. Um, it doesn't feel like Peter Parker. He just seems, you know, I guess all of the stuff that makes him Peter Parker just beaten out of him throughout the years, which maybe is the point, sure. But
Mhm.
I didn't care much for it. Um, I thought the art's, fine. Uh, I mean, I can't stop thinking about the AI thing because it's clearly evident.
Go ahead,
Um,
Tyler. Jesus Christ.
well, I don't know if that was going to be a talking point, so I didn't want to bring it up.
No, of course not.
But there's that the hell scene. Can you guys give me context to that? Is that an established place in Spider-Man Reign?
No.
Okay, all right. So Green Goblin just has a whole bunch of little goblins, and he pulls Peter to hell. Sure. But all the background scenes in hell are, I guess I got to say clearly AI, right? Like I know there's the whole witch hunt of comics and are things AI or should we be um, accusing people of AI? These are clearly AI backgrounds, and
Oh, I didn't even.
that paired with Carrie Andrews's like whole thing on the internet last week complaining about how artists can't be make uh, 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 I guess artistic choices because they're scared of being canceled and they have to second guess themselves. I'm not a huge Carrie Andrews fan outside of the work at this point, so I did probably bring a little bit of that into this issue. That probably just made me a little more like, I don't care what this guy has to say.
Probably. Not what that sounds like at all.
Yeah, yeah. So, not my bag. That's what I'm gonna put there. It's just this was not my bag.
Yeah. Um, I'm not gonna rag it over the coals. I didn't like this too much. I think if anything, the art style for me felt dissonant with Peter. It felt like Paul Pope to some degree. There's like a scratchiness to it. There's these thin inks that help to define the shape of things that are interesting. but it's very fast and loose. And while I think that can work for Spider-Man, this feels a bit darker. So maybe I'm just not used to that. And then I just thought the story was a bit dense. I feel like I'm getting dragged along. I'm not being led by Peter, and I would have liked maybe a little bit more of that hand holding so that he can ground me. He's just waking up too, so I understand that. But then I think in that case, Kitty Cat needed to do a bit more of that hand holding, like you're back, you're doing whatever. Tell me what happened a little bit more in the last one. Maybe that's of consequence here. I can't distinguish where that is from this. I don't know that because I didn't read the previous book, so I can't say, oh, right, this is a carryover, this is a whatever. Like, I think a little bit more of that would have been helpful to just get me involved.
I don't really think that that would have helped because there's not, there really isn't carryover like that. This
I
is
don't
a
know that.
pretty, yeah, I understand you don't know that. This is a pretty like self-contained story within the world. All you really need to know is that, you know, Peter's nuts and he's been through the ringer. And I think that the story does a good enough job of getting that across. But I can understand how getting dropped into the world without having read the first one would be jarring, just because this is so far from what we're used to reading with Spider-Man. But I'm I'm with Cale in that it's not my pick of the week, but I really enjoyed this for what it was. Normally this wouldn't be for me, but there's just something about this story that I I wanted more. I always hoped we would get another Spider-Man reign, and I'm glad we did.
From a craft standpoint, I found the uh, internal dialogue boxes to be confusing. It's a blue color, which is not like a Spider-Man blue, so it doesn't really tell me who's talking. And the book opens from those with those narration boxes being from Kingpin's perspective,
I thought that was weird too.
and then
Yeah,
it jumps to Peter's perspective without changing the design of the box.
yeah.
So I was just confused there, and had me questioning who is talking at this point.
So when I read this the first time, I think in Amazing, regular continuity, that blue was what Peter's narration thought boxes were in. I could be wrong about that, but that feels right to me. And that hadn't carried over in Rain. So I wonder if this is sort of a remnant of that somehow. Um, but I don't know. It translated immediately for me. Although your point about that first one, I think is absolutely correct. Yeah.
The
And
suck.
then,
Go ahead.
sorry, and then we get transported back in time, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Is I get lost at that point as well. Like what?
Yeah, welcome to the club. It's issue 1, dog.
But does that happen previously? Or is just like because it doesn't get explained?
It's issue 1, dog. Like,
I
I
think
mean,
and I like, guys, what happened in book 1, Spider-Man Reign, is explained twice.
I'm trying so hard right now. So hard.
It's issue 1, guys.
well, I don't have a problem with that. I just find the book itself and what it's telling in this individual issue to be obtuse.
it's not
Sure.
communicating it well.
We're jumping
Yeah.
forward
No, I
from what they tell you in like the recap page. So jump forward a bit, but then we're jumping back again.
at the end of the book.
No, we jump. I mean, jump forward from Spider-Man Reign 2. Like there is obviously a time jump because Peter's been hooked up for this thing for a bit. So we jump forward, and at the end we're jumping back past where it was like, all right, why are we jumping all over the place? It was a little too obtuse for me. Like it didn't really seem like a point, but oh, whatever.
Man, this is one of those reviews.
Guess so.
Yeah. Let's talk about the AI aspect of this, because when this dropped, a lot of people took to social media to accuse Car Andrews of using AI to do the backgrounds of specifically these pages that I'm holding up, or at least these are the accusations. I've seen the accusations about this.
I'll find the panels, put them on the screen.
Yeah.
The backgrounds of these pages where, you know, Peter goes to this underground lair of the Green Goblin and, you know, all that jazz. Now, I already knew about that before I read the book, but I wanted to see if I would notice anything without focusing on it. And I personally didn't. When I look closer, you know, I can't tell, but again, it's one of those things where I don't look at the books that way, I guess. I don't know. I didn't personally notice it myself. We don't have confirmation of anything, but people seem pretty convinced.
I think on digital, it's much more noticeable.
I didn't notice.
Uh,
I mean, granted, you know, again, this was I had to read this before the show, you know, so I didn't have a ton of time to really sink my teeth into it, but I didn't notice and I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I also didn't know about it, but I noticed that it felt like like certain backgrounds, even in the city. So I thought there was artistic continuity there. I thought it was rendered in a different way. The background felt like it was rendered in a different kind of digital, whereas the foreground art was actually drawn out, like penciled out. It that looks different. I don't know if it's AI necessarily. It just looks like a different texture involved in the backgrounds, because I think it persists even from the city scenes that are happening.
I tried retroactively looking at the city scenes, and the city scenes at least seem like you could see, you know, sketch marks and like at least digital brushstrokes. You don't really see that in the other one. You see the blurriness of like when AI kind of generates something and it can't really get symmetry correct, so things
Yeah.
seem a little off. It's a lot more evident in that like hell staircase coming down, and the way the fire looks too is incongruous to the rest of the book.
Yeah, it didn't again, you know, I didn't notice it. I didn't know about it. It didn't bother me. I think the difference here being that it's the backgrounds, I think makes a massive, massive difference. Because I it's hard to draw backgrounds. You know, like compare that to you know, the Joker stuff we read.
Yeah.
You know, where every version of the Joker was different and he had different body parts and each, you know, body part was different and weird. And, you know, the black cat was very obvious. The Catwoman was very obviously the black cat. And there were 15 different Batmen from 15 different movies. This is just kind of like backgrounds with Kara Andrews on top of it.
When you say that, are you saying like you don't see as much of a problem with it?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not, you know, you know, how old is this guy?
I don't think he's that old.
Yeah,
But
he didn't seem like too old of a guy when I saw him on what's his face's channel, Mark
Seems
Miller,
like
I think.
50. Yeah. About 50. I don't know. I personally will excuse that a lot more than letting it do the art for you.
Slippery slope, Cale.
yeah, I'm kind of on the slippery slope there one too. It's like just because it's hard doesn't mean like art is hard. Like you could not do a background or choose to do something else. I don't think any AI in the interiors rubs me the wrong way completely.
I am in the camp of fuck AI art all day, every day. I don't want it in my comics at all. I don't care if it's a cover. I don't care what it is, where it is. But I don't know that this is AI art. And I'm in the camp of, you know, until there's some Carfax on this, until we have some confirmation, I'm just not really about the witch hunts. So I don't know the truth. I didn't spot it with my own eyes, and I haven't seen anybody, who's absolutely credible say, hey, this is AI art. Now, Nick Lowe put out a tweet where he was celebrating, I think it was the release of this, and he got bombarded with comments about the usage of AI art in this comic. And of course, there has been no response from anyone at Marvel on the matter. So we'll find out, maybe, or maybe we won't, if there really was AI used in this. But until I know, because to me, I couldn't tell the difference either way, and it doesn't strike me sus. I'm not gonna partake.
Gavin has a good point here. Is that a lot of artists in comics hire out for background, so it's possible he hired out for a background and got shafted. Possibly, it's a possibility.
Yeah, could be. And Andrews is gonna have to speak to this. He can't stay silent on this subject, especially with all the shit he just talked
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
cancel culture and all that other blah blah. He cannot stay silent on this. He's going to have to speak to it on some level. And if it is a case where, it was he farmed out his backgrounds and they just, took the easy road, well, I guess I can't really blame him for that. If it's an industry thing that people do where they hire out their backgrounds and somebody did this to him, it's not really his fault. Thanks for adding that context, Gab. Appreciate it. David Acevedo says, is Batman Digital Justice the first AI book? What are you talking about?
Batman Digital. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that. But until we know more, I'm like I said, I'm just gonna review the book on its merits, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm very excited to see what it is that Andrews has to say with this series. It's not going to be for everybody. I think if you haven't read Spider-Man Reign 1, this is a hard read. It doesn't do almost any hand-holding at all. But, it's going to be for some people. It was for me and Cale. So I'm a pull.
Pick of the week. Happy birthday to me.
I'll pass on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on this one as well.
But Marco, it's got AI in it.
All right.
Gavin says my first work was actually doing backgrounds for Heartthrobs back in the day. Dude, am I thinking of the right book? Is Heartthrobs the Chris Sabella book? Because if so, no, it's not.
I don't think so.
Heartthrob, unless there's a different Heartthrobs.
Gavin, were
I
you
don't-
doing art for the 1970s DC romance book? I don't think it's that one.
Atomic Hound says, can we get
Heartthrob.
a final shout out to DC for the release of 2 new compact editions, Far Sector and All-Star Superman Great Complete Stories for $9.99, cover price for 12 issues. Dude, I once again went to my comic shop and completely forgot to buy those.
Damn.
Same, dude. I want one so bad. I've only heard like amazing things about it.
Yeah, I want to be able to like check one out for myself. Nice. It was the Heartthrobs I've been thinking about. Gavin, I fucking love that book, dude.
It's a great book.
That was
Yeah.
such a good comic. It's cool to know that you were involved. We've talked to Chris a lot. Chris, I don't know, he fell off a cliff, not literally, but like he's been MIA, and I hope he's well. But Chris was one of the earliest guests that we had, and I'm a big fan of his.
And we had him on often. Like,
Yeah.
he was really cool.
He
Those
was
are
one
good
of the
shows,
only creators working in comics that like would do the show with us, and he was so supportive of what we're doing. That's awesome. So I didn't get the compact books this week. I wasn't able to snag one of those. I'll try to get.
Izzy says, "All right, everyone, reduce your stack guess by one."
But what I did do this week that I wanted to share is I made a decision that I've needed to make for some time. As I am going through digging the crates, going through my backlog of books, one of the things that has stuck in my craw for the longest is that prior to Chip Zdarsky's run on Batman, I am years behind on Batman. I didn't read Joshua Williamson's little cup of coffee with the character. I didn't read James Tinian's time on the character, and I did not finish Tom King's run with Batman. So what I did was I went back and I read all of what I missed from Tom King, which, as it turns out, I was only like 4 issues behind.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Right at the end.
I was right at the end.
We stopped at like the Bane stuff.
Yeah, the near the end of the Bane, I was done, dude. I was done.
Damn, that must say a lot. Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I can see why I stopped. I can see why I stopped. Man, dude, what the fuck was that?
What'd you think of the Janin art on that arc? Did you like the art at least?
It was awesome, bro. Mikhail
Okay.
Janin is one of the goats, but he's not there. It jumps from Janin to Ramita to Fornes.
That's right, Ramita.
It's literally like, okay, Bane and Batman are about to fight. Stop. Romita's gonna take over.
Whoa.
And then the next issue picks up where the last issue stopped. It doesn't pick up from the story that Ramita drew. It picks up from Batman and Bane are about to fight.
Damn.
So you get a whole issue that is literally just
Filler.
not what you thought you were about to read at all. Because
Forgot about that.
yeah, because they needed to fill space and bring in other artists. So that was really frustrating. And then the ending is just like, it's this whole big battle that's set up with Bane, but then Bane is not really the final boss. And the way that story is told is all jumbled and jumps around. I see why this book got outsold by Immortal Hulk, dude.
So
something.
Was that your first time reading the Alfred part of it?
No, that's where I stopped.
That's where you stopped. Okay.
Was after that. I was like, okay,
It's like,
this is whatever.
It's like Glenn in The Walking Dead for me. Once that happened, I was like, all right, I'm out. Too much.
Yeah.
I was so excited for this because I was like, hey, the one thing I remember is that I didn't get to see the finale of Batman versus Bane. And I was so hyped. And then it's like Catwoman is fucking up Bane and he's just getting smoked. And I was just like, what was all this buildup? And it's not even a fun fight to read. It wasn't exciting. And then his dad is in the book, Thomas Wayne from the alternate future. And that's not even fun. Wow.
Did I see at a certain point Thomas Wayne gets schooled by Damien? Or was it the other way around?
That could have happened in an issue that I hadn't read, or rather one that was before where I picked back up.
Yeah.
But Thomas Wayne beats them all pretty much in one of the issues that I did read.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's a Batman thing a recent Batman thing that I gotta say I don't approve of.
Of Damien just stunning everybody?
No, of Thomas Wayne.
Oh.
Being Batman. Like I get it for that one alternate universe story.
But otherwise,
like that doesn't need to be here. Like
yeah.
There was an emotional payoff that I thought was excellent. But unfortunately, Atomic Hound sounds like Wonder Woman. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Just really weird. Really, really weird. But I did also continue forward through Tinian's run. And I'm nearly done with that. So I read through Joker War, and I'm just shy of Fear State. I'm like one issue before Fear State. And I can't think of another book that I've ever read that felt more like a new character farm than Tinian's run on Batman.
Especially when you get into Fear State, Sean. I really want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
That's where Ghost Machine
Ghost Maker,
comes
Ghost
in.
Machine,
uh
Ghost Maker, Clown Hunter,
Clown
sorry.
Hunter.
Clown
Yeah,
Hunter.
Clown
Yes.
Hunter, yeah.
Wow.
He speaks
About
in
to come
lowercase.
in and wipe this podcast clean.
Joker's daughter. Is that?
Joker's daughter is before.
No, it's
Joker's
way
Yeah,
daughter.
yeah,
before,
yeah.
yeah.
It's an old canon. Yeah.
Punchline.
Punchline.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Punchline, and then Mini, what's her name? Mini something. Can't remember.
The
her
one
name.
with like the undercut, right?
Yeah.
She was
She's,
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Joker, that Joker War, that arc. I don't know if anybody here read that. That was not good. That was not it. It's weird because James Tynion is like in my top 3 writers right now working, I think. But in this, it feels like he was checked the fuck out. Because it's like, it doesn't have the James Tynion hallmarks. It's just like new character, new suit, new Batmobile, new this, that, and the third, but nothing that's like sticky and exciting and fun.
You're writing for the future royalty checks.
Might be.
Did we ever talk
Right.
about, like, I felt like we've discussed Fear State on the show. Didn't we have a whole thing with, like, Peacekeeper?
Peacekeeper 01, yes.
Yeah, who that's Fear State. So
That was another new character that was created. He was created before Fear State.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bit
So
for the
this-
show for a bit, right?
Yeah. And the Gardener. Remember we used to talk about the Gardener?
Gardner, yeah, Poison Ivy's ex. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Who was also introduced. So I'm at the point where like all that shit that we were reading that didn't make any sense to me. Now I'm like, oh, okay, that's that character that I didn't get. Yeah, the Gardener.
Here's the thing, though. Contrary to Nice House, you actually remember their names. They're distinct, very distinct characters.
Well, when you're talking about, like Marcia Lopez versus the Gardener, one is easier to remember than the other. Ghostmaker versus Juancito, like it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Well, Juancito, I'm a big Juancito mark. So
But yet no one can forget Paul from Amazing Spider-Man. I guess you just don't you always remember who you hate.
you never forget
Yeah.
your first cuck.
Wow. Uncanny Suit says Joker War and 3 Jokers was what ruined the character for me. Enough from the clown. I love that. Yeah, Joker War was not it. And I was excited to get to Tinian stuff and there's something there, like the designer. I know I'm like deep in the weeds for those of you who haven't read this run, but the designer was an interesting character who was like, long story short, he had this plan to basically put Gotham's rogues in a hyperbolic time chain. Not literally, but just like sitting and plotting and designing a strategy to take over Gotham and completely defeat Batman by not doing anything, dropping off the map and just focusing on a strategy and coming up with a perfect plan. And I was like, that's a really good idea, but it doesn't. I guess I won't spoil why it doesn't go anywhere, but it literally doesn't go anywhere. I was very I'm a frustrated reader, guys, through this Batman digging through the crates.
It's
Are there
very easy to see why you didn't pick it up.
wait till you get to like Neo Gotham once it turns into full Fear State. Are there any other series that as you're going through these boxes you're like, well, maybe that's the next one I want to tackle?
Yes, Tyler, absolutely. So, I am currently working through Undiscovered Country, which I'll just keep it real brief. It's good, but it's dry. It's so dry. And I think that's a Charles Soule. Me personally, this is just my opinion. A lot of the Charles Soule books that I have read are technically good, but they're just dry. And I think Snyder has an aspect of that sometimes as well. And so those two combined is like, like it's just not very exciting. It's good, but it's not exciting.
That steak's well done. It's still steak. It's a little dry.
I do what? I get my steaks well done.
Oh yeah, I
That is
forgot.
how I get my
I
steaks.
forgot you eat steak the wrong way. I forgot. Yeah.
Ooh.
This is not well done.
Charred.
Yeah, this is not. Well, I don't know. I like the book. It's just not that. It's interesting, but it's boring. I don't know.
It's interesting but not engrossing.
It's like a medical textbook to a doctor. It's like, there's good stuff in here, but boy, you got to know how to read it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Sean, because I've also been working through my backlog. I finally caught up with Gods. I'm done with Gods. I enjoyed it. I'm curious to see where
How
it
did I
goes.
finish Gods before you?
I work alphabetically, and there's a lot of Batman. So I'm finally done with Batman. Green Arrow, I got through. But as I'm looking through like my to read pile, like Undiscovered Country is going to come up eventually. I'll get there eventually. Are you looking at the X-Men books that you haven't read and just thinking, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went hard in the paint before we did the Krakoa postmortem. After that, I look at the pile of books that I still haven't read from that era. And other than Children of the Atom, which I read and enjoyed a lot, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to do all this, dude. All these random issues of Excalibur and shit like that. I don't know.
Like, I look through and I'm like, I'm just going to mark that as read. Like, I don't have any real interest anymore. Like, it just doesn't. Those books were so plot centric and to progress an era. Now that it's done and I already know the end of it, I don't really see the point of it. Yeah.
To that end, Sean, given the spirit of the stack, what about a cull of those books?
What are you asking?
Specifically, the X books, the ones that are, you're not interested in.
Like,
You go donate them somewhere.
Donate them? But who's going to want them?
If Sean, who buys all these comics,
who cares? You don't.
But like libraries probably won't accept random floppies, right? Midtown will laugh at me. Where would I go?
You could maybe go to the Strand and sell them there. You probably won't get much for it, but you can maybe get enough to buy like a trade or something because they do sell singles.
Get them off your plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think you can go to the library for that. Even school libraries.
I don't. I've tried it, Marco, for floppies.
Yeah.
They don't care much for floppies.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's because they're so just they're viewed as disposable. The whole point of a library is to be able to reuse and.
Sure. Oh, sure.
They're just the quality of it's not there.
Yeah.
Just go drop them on a street corner in a box, and it says free. Like
that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, man. That's what I do here. There's a table on the lobby. Plop them. Free comics.
Okay. Hey, if any listeners live in the New York area, I've got some comics to offload.
Town says a children's hospital.
Oh yeah, dentist office, maybe that kind of stuff.
Yeah, drop off your World Tree issues there.
World Tree is awesome. That's one of the things that has happened since I've been doing these big rereads is I have become a massive fan of James Tynion. Like, whoa, this dude is amazing. Outside of the Batman stuff, because that shit is, I don't know. He feels like such a hired gun on it. That's what bothers me. It doesn't feel like him.
Well, and that's when he was checking out too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And it was widely reported at the time.
Totally.
So it's not. Have you gone back to Nice House yet?
To reread it? No. I won't do that. I'm not going to reread anything at all. At all. Yeah. Not until, because if I'm going to spend time reading, I need it to be stuff that is, that's been haunting me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The stack that's looming over you.
Oh my God. David Acevedo says Tynion is better writing independent. I think I agree. Rami says I liked his run on Detective, but not Batman. Shit, did I read his run on Tech? What did he do on Tech?
That was still. I think it was still the same story. It was just more like, all right, this is more of the team element, where Batman was more Batman focused, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So he was on Detective and
I think
Batman
so.
at the same
Or
time?
was this Detective back when it was like Batwoman and Clayface, and Eddie Barrows on art?
More like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was earlier.
My timeline's mixed up. I forget.
Dan says Tom King's run was when I tapped out on Batman comics and I've not returned. Well,
yeah.
You're not the only one. You are not the only one. It's unfortunate. Carl's Collection says, was just talking to my LCS and he is going to do a day in the fall where collectors come in with a short box and have them donate to kids in stores as a way to get rid of some issues taking up space.
Oh,
Great. So now it can take up space for those kids.
It's their problem, not yours.
they deal with it. They learn.
Tom Account says Rebirth era. Okay, so Tynan was writing during the Rebirth era.
That
Right,
woman
right.
Clayface, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think I have a trade of that somehow.
That's random, Cale.
I'll tell you how. It was one that Sabella had a credit in, and I got it from him somehow.
What
Mailed it?
Yeah.
Oh.
All
shit.
right. Fair enough. Let's do the stack, shall we? Kale's got to get some birthday rest. And I'm sure some of you are going to do some silly thing like, spend time with your family. It is July 4th tomorrow. So happy July 4th. I'm going to put out a plea. And, this is just me. Do what you will. I would love for all my pals, as we get the numbers in, vote or give us your numbers for the stack. I would like for all my pals to stay safe on July 4th. So please, 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 if you can avoid it, I know they're fun. Don't fuck with fireworks. Please.
Smart.
Like every year, it's like somebody lost their finger, their eye, their this, their that. Don't fuck with fireworks. Be careful. Please.
Also for the pet's sake, come on. You got people's dogs shaking like they just came back from Vietnam.
Oh,
like,
man, that's the one
rough.
that gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a good 4th, but be safe.
John Horchler says 0. Hey, John, is your first time here?
It's not. I don't know if did you get the game, bud?
He could be playing Price is Right rules though. He might be gaming the system.
Well, not gaming it well, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't know what we're putting up numbers for.
Okay, John. So here's the way it works for anyone who doesn't know. My apologies. There's always a new listener. Sorry about that. So the way it works is that I have an obsession. The obsession's called comics, and I buy too many. So every week, the audience and the panelists here give a guess as to how many books they think I bought for the week. And whoever gets the closest without going over wins either a no prize or the code for any of the Marvel books that I pulled that we didn't read for the show. So with that context in mind, feel free to throw out a number. And if you win, maybe you'll get a comic out of it. It's up to you. So we've got some good numbers already. We've got a lot of people throwing stuff out there.
Saw one way earlier. I think it was Rami. Had 11. Rami had 11. Way earlier.
And real earlier before he left, Steve Matthews said 17.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. I couldn't find him.
Gavin
We've
said
got
13.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got Dan on 16. We've got Rami on 11. Justin on 13. James Jones, perennial champion, is, for the record, 14 on the stack.
Nice.
Izzy says Sean Sensible 17. Hound says 11. Mariwaka Kiro says 9. David Acevedo says 10. Roboter says 12. A very confident 12. Josh says 8. Friendly Neighborhood Comics Guy says 13. Friend Relation says 14. And John Horschler has come back with 10.
There it is.
Do you guys have guesses?
Ooh,
Light
Uncanny
week.
Suit says 56.
Ooh.
Okay.
Little.
So,
I don't know there's that
no
low.
faith whatsoever.
I think it was a light week. I'm gonna say 12.
I'm going with 11. It felt like a 5th week, even though it was the first week. But yeah, there's like annuals
Well, it's a
out that nobody
holiday
wants to
week,
read.
yeah.
True. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 11. Maybe 10,
Ooh.
11.
Electrics in, that's how you say their name, LTRX. Electrics. Is in with a 16 sliding in here. I'm going to say I like 14 this week. It's an event week. I'm feeling 14.
This is one of those rare times where I think this is the first time that I actually know the number and I know who won. I already know who won. So we've got the 6 that we did for the show, right? And we have Space Ghost, number
Nice.
3.
Yep.
Still enjoying this. The second issue was pretty solid. Public Domain, number 6. This is actually at the top of my stack. One of my stacks. This is one of the series at the top of my stack. I really want to catch up with this. I read the first 2, they were good, but I want to see what else Chip has in store. Miles Morales, number 22. This is a Blood Hunt tie-in.
Hooray.
You haven't read a single issue of that run so far, have you?
That's actually not true. I neglected to talk about it last week, but I actually am caught up with this.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's funny because it already did a vampire story. There was already a vampire story in the teens, and now they're doing another one, which I love. Like, that's how little planning there is at Marvel.
Do they acknowledge it at all? I mean, I guess you haven't read this issue yet.
Yeah, I haven't read this one, but I will say the art has been insane throughout. I'm blanking on the main series artist for some reason, but it's been insane. But I have to say, I haven't been over the moon about the scripts. There are interesting bits. Cody Ziegler's doing some things that I like, but some of the, like, how do I say this? I'll say it however I want to. I don't like the slang that everybody uses. It feels a little forced. Miles is a kid who goes to, like, it sounds so fucked up what I'm saying. Like, don't take this too heavily. Miles is a kid that goes to a school for gifted youngsters. There's a way that, and I've been around a lot of kids like that. There's a way that they often speak that just doesn't ring true for Miles, and the voice of Miles in this book isn't consistent to me with all the other Miles voices that I have read personally. And everybody has it, and it just feels a little not appropriate.
Is there you might have to explain this a little further in just the way I'm thinking of it, but is there like a lack of like code switching? In like the, you know, like you're saying with like the different environments that Miles has to be in.
He's not really in any different environments. The book is pretty super heroics based, and everybody that he's around, like, he doesn't really go to school. Like, you don't really see too much time spent in school and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And which I would love for this book to be insanely good. I think it has the potential. I just wish that there could be less super heroics and more, you know, core Miles stuff. Anyway.
Sure.
And the Department of Truth 23. I forgot this book last week. It came out last week. I had to pick it up this week. So I got it. And that's it.
Oh, 10.
Yep. Just
On
10.
the money.
Holy cow.
Damn, I
John
second-guessed
Horsley
myself.
came in with it.
He just learned the rules of the game, too.
That's hilarious.
It was
Well, David Acevedo had 10.
David Acevedo first.
Yeah.
And then John.
Yeah. David, did you win? No, David didn't win last week. But
No.
yeah, so David, if you want, what do I have here? I have Miles and Miles. That's all I got from Marvel this week. So if you want the code for Miles Morales 22, it is all yours, dude.
Wow.
Dan saying he's proud of you. Dan, I think that was just because it was a light week.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why.
Well, potentially a new piece of the stack segment here, because there were some drop-offs.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you don't believe it, but if you look at the list of what books came out this week, there's one notable absence on my list, which is The Holy Roller. I did not decide to pick up number 7. I dropped it, Cale.
That is why I went to 11.
Wow. Hey, Chun, Dan Trudeau and I, we're proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Andy Samberg, disappointed.
Big
Yes.
sad.
Yes. Look, sometimes you have to drop a book. None of us ever want to do it. It hurts, but I had to. Now, though, there will forever be a hole in my collection. I will only ever have issues 1 through 6 of the Holy Roller. And there may come a day where that will really bother me, but my wallet thanks me.
When the movie comes out and you realize that you could have resold that whole run for something.
I don't know if there's a movie that's going to come out that's going to have a holographic Hitler in it. I just don't think that that's going to happen.
These guys think they will be.
Yeah, I don't know. Alexander Bruno says, I haven't made it live in too long. What's up, pal? Show us that stack. What's up, Bruno? You missed. Well, I'll show you the stack. It's only 10 issues deep this week, so
Light.
you know,
He
kind of like.
also said, Sean, this is a huge move for you. Did you turn over a new leaf? Drop those crap books. You don't need to collect in totality.
That's it.
There you go, man.
I
Learn
appreciate
it.
you.
Izzy says, there goes your chance for having Sandberg as a guest on the main show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Could have gotten some Hollywood facts. Damn.
Dude, forget Sandberg. I wanted Remender, and that dude blew me off at Comic-Con. Well, not really a blow off, but
Seems to be blowing everyone off.
yeah. What are you going to do? James Jones, Sean is learning and growing by shrinking.
wow. He's like the Atom.
It's like Cale growing another year older.
Latrick
If only I
says,
could learn.
it's good with restraint, Sean, but we're counting on you. 20 next week. Well,
Damn.
I can't and won't tell you how many books I plan on picking up next week, but I will tell you the books that we will be reviewing next week. So,
Wow.
next week on Pals Pulls, we are going to be reviewing, as if we could review anything else, X-Men #1, making its
Nice.
debut, the kickoff of the
Oh,
From the
yeah.
Ashes era.
All right, let's go.
Yep.
Gail Simone?
Ulti-
Sorry.
No, this is Jed McKay.
Jet.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
McKay and Stegman. So that should be interesting.
Okay.
Ultimates #2,
Okay.
All right.
calling it in advance, pick of the week. Shooting my shot.
Shoot it.
Action Comics 1067. This is Gail Simone's debut on Action, which I'm very excited for.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And Geiger #4.
Yeah, I'm gonna call my shot. Ultimates. Yeah.
There is one more book, though. That book is the book that the listeners decide on. You can go to youtube.com/thecomicspals under the community tab and cast your vote as to which book you would like to add to that foursome to make it a vivesome, which is the bare minimum of books that we do here every single week on the show. We appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us. The next time we will be live with you is this Saturday at 10:15 a.m. for the main show. Don't know what we're going to be talking about quite yet, but as always, I assure you that it's going to be a very, very fun time. So if you want to spend some time with us and make your weekend a little bit more fun with us, with the Comics Pals, join us on Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. Until then,